Touche Amore! Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. It's album review time. Touche Amore, parting the sea between brightness and me. Now, if you guessed from that title that this California 5-piece has a lot to say, you guessed correctly. This is the band's sophomore LP, and with a lot of improvements on their sound, production, mixing, just recording quality, these guys have put together what, to me, is easily one of the most open, honest, and therapeutic, cathartic albums of 2011. And this music is of a style I don't usually cover on the channel, mostly because my love for it really doesn't stray too far into the 2000s, whether or not you want to call it post-hardcore, SCREAMO, EMOCORE, whatever. So because I'm not into a lot of recent stuff from these genres, I was surprised to catch myself enjoying this. But where to start? Because there's a lot to say about this LP, despite the fact that it is only 20 minutes spread across 13 tracks. First off, I think the production is the easiest thing to touch down upon. It's most likely the best thing this album has going for it. The vocals are mixed really high, but for good reason. The guitars are really grating, but equally harmonious, and the drums just really pump. They drive this record. Those crashes are just so bright and just so harsh. And the bass is just really warm and thick and a very nice counter to a lot of the more aggressive sounds on this LP. Overall, with the recording, this album is really on point. The band sounds like they're playing this stuff live in the moment together. It doesn't feel rigid. It doesn't feel plastic. It's a very lush, loud, and alive album. Now, as far as the style goes, this very emotional brand of rock music, don't take the volume and the screaming as just anger. This is not an angry album. If anything, this album comes off more lonely, fearful, stressed, and depressed. If this album is angry, it's only anger fueled by those emotions. And you hear about these emotions and the stories behind them through these very ultra-poetic, flowery lyrics. And do they get corny? Yes, they do. They get very corny. I actually think most people would be too cynical not to laugh at these lyrics if they were just written down on a piece of paper. Really, the only thing keeping me from laughing is how fucking sincere the band's vocalist is when he's saying this stuff. And that's really kind of a part of the appeal of this album. I mean, the vocals and the lyrics are just so overpowering and so prominent. I found myself listening to this thing a lot like I would a hip-hop album, with the lyrics kind of taking precedent over the music behind them. And these words are always delivered in a very serious and desperate tone. And some of them go over better than others for me. I do love spots like, "And for my final trick, I will make everyone who loves me disappear, but I won't know how to bring them back." There are so many spots where I really feel like I could quote this LP. They really sound like the kind of band who would play at a basement show where the air is so thick with heat and sweat it's difficult to breathe, and where 75% of the people attending know all the lyrics and they're screaming along. But there are other lyrics like "not picking up my phone," "driving alone," "damaged goods, damaged goods, damaged goods," "rain clouds." Those spots I could really kind of take or leave. So yeah, this LP is kind of overly emotional. It's a little sappy, it's a little achy, but I wouldn't charge it as being weak or soft because of that. The words feel very vulnerable, but the music behind them isn't. The music really charges the words on this LP and kind of makes this whole thing feel like a very relieving experience, like the vocalist is empowered by saying all of this stuff and just letting it go. These guys have a serious punk spirit kind of flowing throughout this album, and they know that their style is best suited in small increments, which is why many of these songs are pretty brief and to the point. But in a lot of these short tracks, these guys still manage to throw a lot in. Take the song Artificial, building drum rolls that segue into booming chords. The band breaks it down into halftime, then they just go full speed. They break it into a climax that sounds like 3 different things in itself. I'm always impressed by how much these guys throw into their music, but that can be sort of at a fault sometimes, because there are spots where these songs do come off more disjointed than connected. Kind of like the puzzle pieces are really being forced into each other. And as long as I'm kind of hopping on the complain train, I guess I could have used more variety on this LP, especially in the vocals. A lot like that Fucked Up album I reviewed earlier this year. Hearing the voice not just do the same tricks over and over and over, but basically settle into these mid-range screams throughout the LP kind of wears me down a little bit. As exciting as this album can be on a lot of these tracks, still, as I was repeating this LP again and again to try to get to know it and review it, I was giving myself, a little bit of a headache. Will admit it. Some narrations would have been nice. Some more harmony and melody would have been nice, even if it is loud. The only real change in color on this album is on Condolences, where there's a soul piano, with lyrics screaming, of course, that kind of ask the listener if they've ever fantasized about their funeral and what music would play, which we've all done. Still, despite all the positive things I have to say about this LP, I don't know if a lot of you are really going to be into it. And I think it mostly has to do with maybe your perspective versus the perspective of the people creating this album. I mean, this LP is offended at how cheap and ritualistic everyday interactions and relationships are, because a lot of people are so fake and avoid honesty at all costs for the sake of being accepted, getting along, and all that BS. Most people have been worn down to the point where wearing a mask every day is normal. But just because it's normal, does that make it good or right or what should be? That's the question this album asks. After weighing out my likes versus my dislikes of this LP, I am not in love with this album, but these guys have my respect, and this album has been enjoyed. Feeling a decent to strong 7 on this thing, but what do you think of it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? And why? And what should I review next? And why am I whispering? Let me know. Anthony Fantano. Touche Amore. Forever.